Number one biggest problem when people are looking to start a business is that they don't validate their idea or their target market before they go out and spend a whole bunch of money on the product or service or whatever the business model is, and then they finally get to market. They've spent all this time, they get to market, they have the product ready, and then they realize that something is off, right? Nobody's knocking down their door trying to get the product, and this happens all the time. And one of the things that we learn in business school, and they just drill this into your head when you're doing an MBA or you're going to business school, is that you have to know your target audience. But it definitely goes a couple steps deeper than that. You can think you know your target audience all day long. You could even be part of that target audience, right? If you're a cyclist and you just know everything about that industry, that's great. But the thing is, there's all these nuances within the industry, right? Maybe your idea is really good and you know your customer because you are a customer of bicycles and bicycle parts. But you come to find out that maybe what you're trying to sell is a really niche thing, and there's not a big enough target market to sustain a big initial investment, or bike shops don't want the product, something along those lines, right? So you never know exactly, right? You can have a hypothesis about a product or service being great, and then the stars just don't align. And so one of the things that I think is really important is you want to go out there and try to validate your ideas with as many people as possible, and not the product itself, right? So you don't want to validate ideas on your product. You want to go out, gather people from LinkedIn that are part of a particular target audience that you're trying to go after, right? Ask them to go out to coffee, something along those lines, and tell them you're a serial entrepreneur, you're looking to understand problems in their industry. You don't want to tell them about your product at all. You just want to sit down with them, buy them coffee, something along those lines, sit down and understand the problems that they face in that industry. So it could be, for example, a group of gym goers that are between 30 and 40 years old, or something along those lines, right? And ask them what their problems are in the industry, and just be a listening ear and try to uncover and expose the layers of the onion within that problem. So, for example, you could ask them, tell me about the problems of that industry. And then as they answer, you can continue to probe with questions like, well, tell me more about that. That's really interesting. And so you can start peeling back the layers and get to the core root cause. And maybe the problems that a whole bunch of people that you're speaking to, maybe they start to line up, and you realize that the product that you're thinking about putting into the market is either going to align with the key problems that they have or not. And ultimately, the holy grail of launching any kind of product or any kind of business is understanding the problem base so well in that target audience that ultimately the product will sell itself, right? People will just say, oh my God, you're making this, that's so great, I'll even wait to pre-order it. So that's the best case scenario. And a lot of times people think that their idea for their product or service is so good that and they feel so much confidence up front with their idea that they just kind of ignore all the general rules of thumb when trying to create a business. There seems to be a lot of emotional attachment to an idea that people have, and you got to look at a business idea as just it's a hypothesis, right? You have some kind of idea, take the emotion out of it. It's a hypothesis you're either trying to validate or invalidate. And as you start talking to people about the problems that they face in an industry, they're either going to validate or invalidate that hypothesis, and that's super valuable, right? You might think that, oh man, like I don't want to go talk to a bunch of individuals about the problems that they face in this industry. But the reality is it's a heck of a lot harder to blow a whole bunch of money up front only to find out that your customer is actually slightly different than you originally thought. So I think There's a lot of other creative ways that you can get a product or service out there. One of the big things today is a lot of companies are even jumping onto the bandwagon. Companies and individuals are jumping onto the Kickstarter bandwagon because they're able to come up with a conceptual design of a product and put it out in the market, right? They're not even putting a physical product out in the market. They're not investing any money. They're just selling you on the dream for a particular service or product, and people are either going to back you or they're not, right? And that type of model is super valuable. So I think as a very first preliminary step, if you're looking to start a business, try to go out and talk to as many people as you can, and keep the questions open-ended. And one of the questions that I learned that's really valuable is a question that I got out of Lean Customer Development book, and I'll put a link to the description or in the description below. And the question is, if you had a magic wand and you could get anything in this particular industry, what would it be? And it's amazing what people will tell you with that type of question, because a lot of times on the other end, you may know, trying to develop this product, you may know specifically about what is possible and what is not possible in that industry, but the person on the other end that you're speaking to, they're just the consumer, right? They don't know the nuances of manufacturing or any of the other nuances with the product creation, so they may not know what's possible. So if you ask them that question, it opens the door to all these different really interesting things. So anyway, that's all I got for you today. If you liked the video, definitely hit that like button below. If you have any comments about creating a business or you have any questions, please leave them below. I'll be happy to answer them. And thanks a lot for watching.